thought about footage like reality TV people. We like captured lots of things and were encouraged heavily to do so. Like when you did planes, trains, and automobiles, the reason that that video happened was Shannon, I think it was Shannon at the time we still had like drilled into us that like, hey, shoot like when you're in the airport and when you're doing this stuff. And I had that one random iPhone shot of like Pete on the escalator going down and he like looks up at the camera. Fundamentally, I am sure at that moment he was like, why are you shooting me right now? Why is this happening? This is not interesting.
Hi, I'm Garret Brubaker, and this is the Creative Caucus. Joining me today are 5 members of Pete Buttigieg's 2020 presidential campaign's video team. Pete for America is where I got my start in politics and where I met all these amazing people, where we all became really good friends and probably spent too much time together than most normal people should. So fair warning, this interview may get a little chaotic, inside jokey at times, and I'm actually going to introduce everyone here in the intro because they made me absolutely bungle the intro while we were recording live. Each of these people went on to achieve bigger and better things after the campaign, and I'm going to highlight some of their political positions specifically. So, joining me today are Gina Reis, who went on to be the video director for Mark Kelly's Senate campaign, Hussien Salama, who went to work for Jon Ossoff, the Department of Education, and for the Biden administration, Maggie Sullivan, who went to the DCCC, then Senator Padilla, then Governor Shapiro, and now Representative Lauren Underwood, Becca Davila, who went to the Biden campaign and then followed him to work at the White House, and Carina Teoh, who went to Alyssa Slotkin's campaign and then after that to Raphael Warnock's Georgia Senate campaign. Carina was joining us by phone in a car, so there won't be much on the video side from her. I want to highlight everybody else on the PFA video team that was integral to us making the amazing work that we did, but who are not on this call. Pablo Roa, Carrie Gooch, Shannon Fitzgerald, Dennis Prazuera, Allison Jarvis, Chrissy Pacific, Chris Northcross, Quentin Basnaw, and David Ross. All right, this should be a fun one, so keep listening to hear an inside look into what life on a presidential campaign is really like. Let's get into it. Okay, we're recording now.
Woo!
I think everybody's getting...
Nothing has changed.
This is going to be a lot more chaotic than your first recording,
yes.
I'm sure.
Just go from one person to seven people, 6 people. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining the Creative Caucus. It's so good to see all your beautiful faces, except Carina. So, to start off, who did anything with politics before they started on Pete for America? Okay, so Hussien.
I did like local news.
Yeah,
but
you did. Yeah, Hussien, how did you get into politics?
It really is a stupid way that it happened. I was a really big fan of an author, and he had a fundraiser for a politician, and I went to the fundraiser, and I liked the politician, and then I hated my job where I worked in fashion and quit it on the spot when I lived in London at the time and flew back to be a fellow on a political campaign in Illinois. And then I did that, and then I did 3 campaigns after that. And worked at the D-Trip, just doing random video shit for people. And then I randomly got into Pete also.
So how did you start on the Pete? How did you get in? Because you started before I did. How did you get onto the campaign?
The way it happened is Carina was looking for help on launch day for Pete. And I was working on a web series with a friend in Chicago, and he got called to see if he could help out with it because he was used to work for a documentary place. He was like, I'm not like available, but I was available for stuff. And I was like, sure, I'll go do like a day trip to do like this Pete guy's thing. I heard of him here and there, but I wasn't like really that locked in. And then we did launch. I thought it was really cool. And then when they needed more people on Pete, I was like, I would be down and interested and applied, and I got hired.
Okay, amazing. Maggie, what did you do in politics before you started on Pete? And then go into how you got onto the campaign.
Yeah, so honestly, it's a little bit loosey-goosey for me to say politics. It was like political media. Folks will either know this and think it's cool or have no idea what it is, but Crooked Media, the folks who do the Pod Save America podcast, was my first job out of college, like my first real job. I was interning. I did a couple video internships, and those ended and did not lead to anything. And I found Pod Save America just randomly when I was living in New York, and obviously it was a bleak time. It was 2018, and I just really enjoyed listening to it, and then happened to know someone who got a job there, and so it was just very lucky that I was able to get an internship there when they were still very, very small. And so it was political media. They had a lot of candidates in and out and stuff, but it was a good foundation of learning digital things and video things and being in the political space. And then from there, you can cut this part out, but they kicked me to the curb. So I had to look for something else. And it happened to be the time that a lot of, I'll say my contract ended. And it happened to be the time that a lot of campaigns were staffing up for 2020. And a lot of folks at Crooked had worked for campaigns before. It was just a place that had a lot of former DNC staffers. And obviously the people who run it were former Obama staffers. So they gave me a lot of advice and were you really should apply for a campaign if it's something you're interested in. There's not going to be another opportunity like this where there's such an open field, and there's going to be so many, positions available for people that are young and don't have a lot of experience, which obviously I was. So I applied to a bunch of different campaigns, and the Pete campaign was one of my top 3 that I was really hoping would work out. I heard back from no one else, actually. Pete was the only one that I heard back from, and I actually really kind of manifested it for myself because I found a random email address on a forum about jobs, and it was a Pete for America email address. And I just emailed and was hey, I applied for something. This is me. And it was a small enough organization that they were I'm not the right person, but I'll send it to who is. So I just ended up getting myself in front of Shannon, and that was how it worked out.
And that's, you find those LinkedIn emails or whatever, and you reach out to try to get to them. So the joke with Gina was that our creative director, or our video director at the time, we believe she was hired because we thought that she was Latino and her name was Gina Reis.
That's my story, how I got hired.
That's our story. We're sticking to it.
You know what? Worked out.
I remember before you were hired, you were kind of talking to some of us on Twitter or something like that. You were one of the later, I think after, at least from all of us here, the last one hired. And, we were all overworked at that point. And so when we knew that you were coming on, we were all very excited for you to join in. So, how did, tell us your end of the story of how you joined.
Yeah, well, I did not work in politics. I worked in, before that I was working in public television for a PBS Kids show, and which I really loved and loved doing it. I was just looking for something with a different pace, and I have an older sister who has worked in politics, and she kind of actually, I saw, kind of similar to Maggie, saw a posting on some close Facebook group, which just had Shannon's email, and I just emailed my stuff in and didn't think much of it because, usually don't hear anything like that. But a month later, I got a call, and a week after that, I was moving to Indiana. So, yeah, little did I know that Shannon told everyone I was Mexican, I think. Not true. I lived in Mexico and I speak Spanish.
The fact that you spoke Spanish, I think, pushed it over the edge.
So, I guess, Shannon misunderstood, but it got me a job. So, very glad that it did.
Yeah. And Becca, you, like me, were one of the few people from the actual area, the town right over from South Bend. How did you join the campaign?
So I was working in local news in South Bend, And then, of course, if you were even from that area, you knew about Pete, Mayor Pete. And he was like, yeah, just kind of like a local legend. But I was just working in local news, and I was doing like social media for them. Had gone to school for video. So I was like, okay, this isn't quite what I wanted, but this is fine. So I was at a trivia night with Ball State Chirp. That's for us. I was at a trivia night with friends and family friends. And the mom of one of my friends, she was just like, hey, did you hear Pete Buttigieg is going to be running like for president? And I was like, oh my God, no way. Literally that night, I went online and checked to see if there was like just video slots available. And then I forget like how quickly it happened, but I remember meeting Shannon in like, I forget what the old campaign offices or whatever, where there was like one light bulb in the room and like one chair, and it felt scary to say the least. But I was like, okay.
The one chair that I brought over and you.
Right. I was like, somebody knows where I am, so I'm okay should anything happen. But no, just kidding. But met with her, and then I think I got hired pretty quick after that. And then, yeah, that was pretty much it. It was just a word of mouth. Like, you knew who he was, and he was just like such a cool guy. He was very smart and like truly like hometown hero. So I was like, that's the guy I want to work for. But
yeah, a little behind the curtain was the first office was this dingy, like back rooms, liminal space style office. That was pretty odd, but then we moved to a pretty nice one. So,
with like sunlight and new paint.
Yes,
it was great.
Nice bright blue and walls that were painted and everything. Carina, you were probably like employee number 6 or something. How did you start on the campaign?
Yeah, it's funny that you guys mentioned that office. That was actually the second office that the campaign ever did. The first office was like a singular room that I do think I saw like once, and then they immediately vacated that. But yeah, my story, when I like look back at it, feels relatively insane. But like when it was happening, you're like, oh yeah, this is just like how the world works. But I had met Pete. I'm from Michigan, and I had met Pete when I was in college on an alternative spring break to South Bend. Why a group of nerdy Michiganders decided that we should go volunteer in South Bend, Indiana. I think we were sent there, and we were like, okay, cool, doesn't sound great, but like we'll go because we want to help. And part of the program was like meet the mayor, talk to the mayor in like the conference room of the DoubleTree in South Bend, Indiana. And so I met him and was just like really taken by his story about being young and coming back to his community and running and, trying to like actually do something. And someone from like, our generation, he's an elder millennial, and, we're a little, we're on the other side, but, just kind of kept an eye on like what he was doing. And after college, I had moved to New York to do commercials and television. I really wanted to do like production. And so I did a handful of that over the course of those years. But I knew somebody in the New York governor's office, like one of my best friends. And so because Liz Smith was involved with the governor's races and comms and all of that, happened to just like be able to put me in touch. And we did like a little bit of stuff, a little bit of video stuff with him before he had launched in Brooklyn, in New York. And then I like ended up talking with the campaign manager. I reached out afterwards. I was like, hey, if you need anybody, like I never done anything in politics, but I was like really interested in Pete's story. I was interested in giving it a shot. And, that was like 2017, 2018, 2019. So the world, when you're like in your early 20s, felt like it was on fire for the first time in your adulthood, and thought, why not try something like this? And I truly think because I think I was probably employee number 12. If it had been even any further down the process, they would have been, that's insane. You don't have any experience whatsoever. But luckily, they took a chance on me. And I think I talked to the campaign manager. And a week later, I was like in New Hampshire on the road and running around, and had no context for what it was even supposed to look like. It was my first campaign. Very much the building the rocket ship as it's taking off. And I think a few weeks later, he kind of blew up, and then he just like kept blowing up. And thinking back to that, it's truly wild, but it totally changed my life.
I'm in the same boat. My joining the campaign was, also necessity, like Maggie, where my previous job ended, and I'm in and from South Bend, and was able to hop on the campaign. And I had never done anything in politics. Didn't know. I mean, I knew who Pete was. I think I voted for Hillary in the previous election, but didn't have any interest in politics. And like after the first week, I think it was like Friday or something, and I remember like either Carrie or Shannon was like, "All right, we'll see you tomorrow," and I was like, tomorrow's Saturday. It's like, what do you mean? And then they're like, "Oh yeah, we work, 7 days a week till 9 p.m. And it's like, holy crap. So
Garret, I have a story about that. My first day, I had a similar thing. Shannon hadn't told me it was 6 days a week during my interview. I just want to say that for the record. She never said that. And it was a Friday, and my mom was supposed to meet me in South Bend the following day because I've been living in LA, but I'm from Chicago, and I had been home for like a day for the first time in 9 months, and then I was in South Bend. And so my mom was like, "Oh, I'll come down for the weekend, see you, whatever." But then Shannon was like, "Oh, we'll see you at work tomorrow." And I was like very deer in headlights, and she basically was like, "I'll give you the day off, but you found me in the elevator after, and you were like, 'Yeah, you didn't know that either?'" And I was like, "No." And you were like, "Yeah, I didn't know that when I started." And I was like, "Shit, wow."
My first day was definitely on a Sunday. I remember that.
I remember your first day.
Sunday.
Yeah, campaign. So you guys, I mean, it's been 6 years since 2020, 2019, it's been 7 years. You guys have been all over the political landscape since then. Thinking back to the campaign, like what are some of the things that stick out to you?
I just remember the infrastructure, very much what Carina said about like building the rocket ship as it's taking off. The infrastructure of the video team in particular was like, hey, we're shooting like terabytes and terabytes of footage with nowhere to put it, which brings me to the jellyfish, which brings me to the office that was sweltering like 100% of the time. And we were like, it was so miserable. And we're like, we had like 6 machines and like a room this big, and just like how we were building out was like, it was just hard to keep up with what we were turning out, or like what was expected of us too. It was like Pete was hot, so we had to be like churning out stuff just as fast as it was happening. But I think like watching us try to build that out was kind of crazy.
And like I'm assuming it's probably the same for all campaigns, and this was just only a primary too. But like from the outside looking in, you think it's like a it's like a business, right? Everybody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's flying by the seat of their pants. Everybody has imposter syndrome. Nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
I think that there are elements of the campaign that were not like typical campaigns and are not like ones afterwards. I think one thing that I will say is that, and I call some of this to like the influence of Shannon actually, is that like we thought about footage like reality TV people. We like captured lots of things and were encouraged heavily to do so. Like when you did planes, trains, and automobiles, the reason that video happened was Shannon, I think it was Shannon at the time we still had like drilled into us that like, hey, shoot like when you're in the airport and when you're doing this stuff. And I had that one random iPhone shot of like Pete on the escalator going down, and he like looks up at the camera. Fundamentally, I am sure at that moment he was like, why are you shooting me right now? Why is this happening? This is not interesting. I think there's parts where Pete has out loud said when we've shot stuff of like, is this necessary? Is this required? But we had like been like drilled into us of like shoot everything, record everything all the time.
Such a
and so that you're like, that's not something that other things that you've been on have done.
Absolutely not. Like, I think like it's like part of the cherry influence, but it's also like a level of trust from Pete that like I don't think other candidates have. Like, a lot of people have to be like turned on and off for a camera, and like Pete's kind of the same both ways. Like, he is the same person all the time, and he had so much trust in us as a team that like he was like, sure, if you want to do it, let's keep going, let's keep rolling, you know?
That's funny, because I'm pretty sure Shannon came from like MTV before this, and so like that reality television type of vibe. I never really put that together until just now, but that makes total sense. Yeah.
Well, I think part of it too is not just the side that is, you know, a ton of us are coming from non-political backgrounds, more creative or TV backgrounds, but then also I think Shannon, and then moving on, it was, you know, our kind of, as the video team at the beginning, especially, like, we had to tell the world who Pete was and had to tell people how to say his name and explain who he was. Whereas I didn't really realize until after the campaign and talking to other people from other campaigns that, you know, we were very different in that sense, in building up video and digital, because, you know, whereas Biden, like, he's been in the limelight for years and years and years. There's years and years of footage of him doing great things, of you know, all that. But Pete was virtually unknown, so I felt like it made our job a lot harder, but a lot more creative. And yeah, we were lucky that Pete was very trusting of that. So
I think he's also like, and you know, this has been said time and time again over the last like 6-7 years, like since he blew up. But I think that now everybody kind of understands, like, he's pretty much like a generational communicator. Like, he is so unique in how he can talk to people. And like Hussien said, he's the same person in front of the camera when the camera's not rolling, when he's off stage, when he's on stage. And I think it's one of the things that, like, when you have somebody who is like that, they can connect with audiences in so many different ways. And I think that we got very lucky that this was the very beginning of, you know, his rocket ship, like, being able to actually be able to capture that for folks and being able to show that to the world in every way that we possibly could. It just made it so much fun. But he is so unique. Of like all of the people that I think that we've worked for, there's amazing candidates and there's amazing people who are in office, but the way that he communicates is pretty unique, and was definitely a privilege and, you know, exciting to see how his brain works and get to share that with the world. And yeah.
And, you know, Carina, being you're the one that was probably with him the most, more than anybody. I mean, you can probably agree that, like what Hussien said, the person he was off the camera is the same kind of person he was when the cameras were rolling. Yeah, 100%.
And he's also like so smart, and he really cares. And I think that everybody's seen that in the, you know, 6-7 years since then, but kind of seeing it in this campaign light, it's very, you know, there's people can take off, like with the mayor's race that just happened in New York, and people take off in different Senate races. But I think being able to, you know, take off on that national scale and the way that he did it, the way that the Iowa caucuses were working at that point, the way that we were campaigning, just being able to see how his brain worked at like pretty much every second of every day still boggles my mind. He cares so much about every little piece of it. And I think that's why when he was at DOT, they were able to just like dig in onto all of this stuff because he's so nerdy. He really wants to know. And I think that part of also the hard part of campaigning and campaigns is you just don't always get to dig into the policies, and you're traveling around the world. You're in 4 states in one day, and you don't get to have as long of conversations that you'd like. And so seeing those opportunities when he was able to kind of dig in and hear from people and understand what was going on, you really started to see kind of how his brain worked and like how he lit up at the idea of trying to solve these problems and help make people's lives better in whatever way he could.
Becca, you touched on it, like just going into like specifics of infrastructure of the campaign. So the first video room, that I was in the second office, the creepy office. It was like I had a desk. Yeah. I think Hussien had a desk for when he was in the office and not shooting. Like I had a computer, and then Stephen Smith was in the corner with his setup too. And then I think like when Becca, you were kind of hired. Were you ever in that office? That creepy office? I don't
remember Stefan being there.
So you probably, we went to like
I remember Shannon in the corner by the window. Yeah. That's what I remember.
So then we went to the newer building, and was the first office that we were in there, was that one that was like that had no AC?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure we started the same day.
I think you're right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so that was like the soup. There was like 8 of us or something in this super tiny cramped room.
I had to climb over Chris to get to my seat.
Yes. Oh, Chris Northcross. I forgot about Chris Northcross.
Oh, yeah.
He was with us for a little bit. Okay, yeah. So we were in that little room. And then we finally got to move, like a couple months in, we got to move to that bigger room in the corner, the best room, which was like we had space. We were away from everybody because
we could look at that dumpster. Remember looking at that dumpster?
Yes. I love the dumpster.
Because the video team.
Remember we got to see there was an eagle out one day.
We just watched them.
Yeah, we could see everyone go in and out.
It's like I think digital and video parts of and again, this might be. I've only worked on this one campaign. This might be different, but like they're so different. I think than other parts of the campaign, in that like. We're loud and we have to communicate and like we have videos playing and we have to like look at other people's screens and stuff. And so that room was perfect. And then due to some internal politicking of the campaign, which I honestly don't even remember exactly, they wanted to move us back out into the main hall.
It's when we were switching into doing more ad work, and so they wanted us to physically be next to the ad team.
Yes, which is funny because I just interviewed the creative director for Harris Waltz last week, and she was talking about like how, like if she would do it again, how like there doesn't need to be this wall between ads and digital.
Yes, sir. Yes, there does need to be.
It's like this old school type of thinking, and she was talking about that too.
We're like, we need a wall in the door.
Yeah. So, like in essence, like that whole we all should have been merged from the beginning, essentially. But yeah, so that's just a little behind the scenes, and like how like we were moving around and just how that worked, and it was kind of a mess, but we made some magic along the way.
I think what's important to remember is also like as the literal campaign infrastructure was being built both in South Bend and across the country, like what our team had to do and how our team was building, like there were just so many different stages of that because you needed to just expand that capacity with servers and having more people travel and record surrogates as much as you can. And I think that the way that those two things like mirror each other is like a big part of just how campaigns work. You almost are never the same entity like one day versus the next because there's so much that's changing.
I remember somebody, it might have been Schmoll or something, mentioned it was like a campaign is like building a startup in like a year and then just tearing it all down at the end. So it's a crazy.
We did end it by just us sitting and working while the rest of the office was torn down. So
empty, not another soul.
Do you know how mad I was?
But that meant that I got to.
Oh yeah, you lost your Snapchat backpack.
I got to get this.
I have the Snapchat little hot dog. I raided the heck out of that stinking merch closet when I left.
Also,
it was because we were the last people there.
Also,
yes.
Oh my God. Pour this off the wall.
That's right.
But I remember I went to the like Habitat for Humanity a couple weeks after the campaign ended, and all of the furniture was donated there. And I walked in and I was like, oh my God.
I recognize it all.
Did you take your blue chair?
Yes. No, Mike Schmoll had a chair that I wanted, and I saw it there, but it had already been claimed, and so I couldn't buy it.
Oh no! Oh. Yeah, Garret sat in like a dad roller chair.
Yeah,
I made sure I had the comfiest chair that we could have.
It was really ugly looking.
The ergonomic mouse. Didn't you have that?
Yeah, clickety clackety keyboard.
The keyboard, which Gina loved. Gina loved Garrett's keyboard.
We could spend an hour talking about all the dumb inside jokes that we had. It's insane.
Going off of kind of what Carina said and like your earlier question about like what's my biggest takeaway or our biggest takeaway from the campaign, I think it was like the most professional development I've ever had in my entire life, and I don't think that anything could really ever come close. Like, for one, Garret, you taught me how to use After Effects like from start to finish. I still text you with questions sometimes, but it really has stuck with me, and like I also just like really became an editor in that role. Like, coming into working on the campaign, I was leaving a job where I just like really had no confidence in my own ability. I just like really thought that I sucked at what I did and like probably shouldn't keep doing it, was kind of how I felt. So like coming into an environment where there was a need to like take a bunch of projects on right away and just like churn stuff out was actually very good for me, because it was like I didn't have time to be insecure about it. I just kind of had to do it. And then once people around me kind of saw that I could do it, it was like, okay, well, I can do it. I might as well just keep doing it, you know? So like that was certainly unique to a campaign. I think the fact that we were as inexperienced as some of us were, I know some folks were more experienced, but me certainly had like no experience, to be able to touch like really big projects and edits and stuff right away and be involved in stuff that was really cool and important was like very meaningful, and I don't think would have happened in another campaign. Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest like things that the rest of you guys like took from the campaign moving forward in your careers and your political careers?
I guess one thing, I mean, it definitely solidified to me that I love and prefer to work in a collaborative environment with other creatives. I feel like that the video like everyone here had a different set of skills and a different viewpoint, and like sitting next to Maggie, I learned so much from Maggie. I mean, from everyone. It's just I came out of the campaign obviously feeling proud of the work we did, but also like feeling very close to the team I worked with. And so I knew that's just like one immediate thing that came out was I wanted to keep working in a collaborative environment and such. I don't like being the one like video person. I mean, I've done lots of that, but like I don't like to be the one expert. I like to have lots of minds kind of working on something, and that was every single video that we worked on was a collaborative effort. So
I think one thing that I really realized from this job was in a lot of political spheres, video is seen as a service-oriented job. It's like somebody else kind of dictates or has like a creative idea and is like, you know how to clickety-clack on the keyboard, so you like deliver that product. But campaigns are so chaotic, and our campaign was particularly chaotic, that there were a lot of opportunities for us to do a lot of pitching. And I'd like pitched like some ideas when like I had an extra day to like shoot when I was in Iowa, and I literally just went around to like different organizers and shot with organizers, and then it like happened to work out with like a video idea that we were doing later. And then like we did a lot of like cute little fundraising videos that were just like whatever the hell we thought was like funny inside of the video office, and those things went gangbusters and like properly did fundraising, you know what I mean? And it's like because of our own ideas, not because somebody else had like particularly told us to do something.
Kind of going off of that. So like a big part of my job is to just watch everything that you guys shot, right? So it was like, you know, something good happened when you would get like a call from somebody on the road and be like, I was just watching this video. Remember when the lights went out when he was doing that speech? And then it was just like, you will never guess what just happened. You won't believe it. It was just like those moments would always happen. Then I'd be like, okay, great. Like, we'll skip the footage. But it's like finding those little nuggets of just on a rope line, or he just like, you know, talked to somebody while he was like going to eat something at the friggin' steak fry or whatever it was. It was like, I watched so much of that footage, and everything you guys shot was so amazing. But like, that's what I did at the admin for like Biden's admin too. It was like, you guys were making such beautiful things and like shooting stuff that like not everybody would see, but it's just like, hey, let me like clock that was like a cute moment, or that was like something fun. And then it'll just like have these little pieces that we could drop out of like, hey, here's Pete in this instance, here's like Biden in this instance. And it's like, that's just like you guys capturing those moments. And then that taught me to like, hey, stick around like a little bit longer on that clip just to see if something happens. And it was just like great. But I could always count on you guys to just kind of get the gold.
I mean, you took that skill and yeah, like you said, you took it to Biden and then you took it to the White House. Just being able to, I mean, you were a master at finding stuff. And
I tried so hard.
And, you know, putting it all together, one of the very last things as the campaign was like kind of coming to an end and we're just like throwing stuff at the wall. We almost got a whole Smash Mouth, Pete.
Wait, can we play that?
I didn't think about that.
I'll play it definitely. I'll play it right here. It's only like the first.
Wasn't it just like 3
like the
seconds?
first 12 words or something.
Somebody once told me the world was going to roll. I ain't the shark. In the shut.
That was like our Hail Mary. We're like, this will get us the vote.
No idea is dumb in brainstorming, okay?
Everybody in South Carolina will love this video.
There's Shrek fans everywhere, okay?
Well, and it's funny too, you mentioned the lights going off moment, because one of the things that I remember, it's like you're part of a campaign where it's like you don't really realize how big it is until you have moments like this where it was like there was a kind of conspiracy.
People thought it was fake.
Theory, yeah, that like the campaign or somebody turned off the lights, and you could like there was a comment or something where it was like if you look at this frame, you can see that it's different than this frame, and that like it's all staged and there's two different things. And we're just sitting back there laughing because like we have the raw footage and we know like, yeah, the lights actually went off, blah, blah, blah. And we edited it together to make a nice video.
It's also funny because we had the experience of like working for an unknown, then working for someone incredibly popular online, then working for someone that people kind of hated online, and then the thing ending. So it was, we sort of got all aspects of the roller coaster at one point or another.
It's very strange to go from underdog to not underdog, like in one job. And you're like, what's happening right now? Everyone thought we were really cute and now they think we're really annoying. What's happening?
It happened in so fast.
We're just little rats.
Yeah. Little rats. And I think I remember the moment, and it was, at least for me, it was the Iowa speeches. I forget what they're called.
NLJ.
Yeah, NLJ. NLJ, yeah. And I remember we were all in that room and we were watching him speak live, and we were all like looking at each other like, oh shit, like he's gonna win this thing. Like,
I freaked out.
Like we're gonna be here for another 8 months going into November. Like,
because Beto dropped out that day too. It was such a crazy day.
That is right.
I think like what people don't know is like when we started these jobs, like a lot of us assumed that we would probably not make it into 2020. Like there was like a good chance that we were like going to drop out or any of those things because we knew the reality of what campaigns were. And so it's very strange for people to think other things about us when we were like, okay, this will happen and that'll be fine. And let's just make the coolest stuff we can in the meantime.
Was there any other like moments that stuck out? You know, there was the debate nights, which were insane.
Ooh, debate nights.
I remember Becca and I started on a debate day. We had to stay that night and do the debate night stuff. It was one of the most stressful days of my life. And it was also just like so incredibly disorienting to be in this random office building in South Bend for like 12 hours after having just gotten off a plane from Los Angeles. Like it was just nutty. But yeah, that was crazy.
I just remember the debate, like war rooms, but it was just us, like when we made that like the horseshoe desk thing around the TVs, right? And I was sitting, Gina, we were always next to each other, and they were just like shouting out clips, and we were like clipping them as fast as we could. But it was like there was a moment, it was just like a different energy on debate days, and you walked in, and everybody had their little like rituals, things they did to get ready, whatever. Gina just downing the Diet Cokes, like, you know,
it's every day.
But it was like, I didn't understand if that was normal for the other campaigns. I knew what we were doing, but I was like, are the other campaigns doing this crazy system that we have also set up? but like I truly don't know.
Well, so did you do any of that stuff like I guess any of you, did you guys have any debate nights for your any campaigns that you were on? And how were they similar? How were they different?
Yeah, not debate, but the closest thing I had was when I worked for Shapiro and he gave his budget address, I would say, which is like the governor's version of the State of the Union, basically. And that was the closest like thing that I had that would be anything close, I would say. But even so, like that was cake compared to, whatever we were doing during the debates. Like the debate editing stuff that I did for Pete, where I was like making these vertical videos in the moment based on stuff that he was saying in the moment, was probably like the hardest and fastest editing I've ever done. I've never done anything quite like that since, of like trying to anticipate what someone is going to respond to in a debate, like have B-roll ready to go along with that. But so like doing the thing for State of the Union, the governor's budget address, was super easy because we knew we had a ton of time to plan. It was like, okay, this is what he's going to say. We have a copy of the speech. We're going to reach out to these people, do these testimonial interviews. The one sort of like rapid response, fast turnaround thing I did was they invited a bunch of guests to the State of his address that he was going to mention in the speech. I did interviews with them all that morning, and then I got them out like during the speech. Cool. So like turned it around in like an hour or whatever. But they were quick enough and like regimented enough in the process that I knew that I would be able to edit them really fast. Like it wasn't something where I was like looking for historical B-roll or whatever, like I was during those Pete debates. So certainly nothing like quite that intensive.
I did other campaigns before and after where we did debates and there was rapid response, but like no one had, on those campaigns, the video team was either literally just me or me plus another person. And so like, the rapid response was mostly tweets. Like it wasn't like thinking about the multimedia aspect of it. It wasn't like thinking about like how do we like create not only like a dozen clips for organic social and also prepare for like what I think were like maybe 20 social media ads to be prepared to release right afterwards. Like that was like insane stuff that I don't think I've ever seen anyone else do in general. So like never like that. But it made me really good at captioning really fast, which doesn't really matter now that we have like better captioning system.
Remember the SRTs of it all?
Yeah. Well, okay, I want to touch on celebrities while Carina's has network. I mean, Pete had a number of celebrities. There was, Michael J. Fox, Kevin Costner, Mandy Moore, Keegan-Michael Key, which I want to touch on.
If you want to call that an endorsement, sure.
Okay, well let's you brought it up. I want to break some news here because he was supposed to endorse Pete. It's been 7 years. We can get over it.
Hussein's face is still horrified.
Let's do a video with us.
I mean, there was like a whole like article and like news hits of like, this is what makes me mad because there's like, Pete's making up endorsements of black celebrities, and it's like, okay, he was like, do you really think Keegan-Michael Key is going to do a get out the vote event with Pete in Iowa on a random day for no reason? It's like, no, he was going to endorse him. And then a certain person on his team got cold feet at the last moment. And then they backed out and said, oh no, it's just a voting event to get people to vote. It's like, come on, really?
The language of that video changed too, wasn't it? Just like,
let's bring it into the creative side. Is we had a whole endorsement video ready to go, and then at the last second we had to change it to it's Pete. And Keegan-Michael Key is also here to talk about voting. It's like, really?
Didn't he go
Garrett's trying to get us on TMZ. This is
our NDAs expired a long time ago.
Did you check?
You guys signed NDA?
Yeah, I guarantee I did not sign an NDA.
I'm 100% sure we did. Yeah.
I spent a weekend with Mandy Moore and Chaston in New Orleans.
The Mandy Moore videos were great. She seemed like an absolute gem.
Angel.
So great.
She's a gem.
In 2028, when he runs again, I'm going to I'm telling you, they're going to pull that jellyfish out of our archives. I heard it somewhere.
We're each a tentacle, baby.
I heard it somewhere in Chicago.
It somewhere, yeah.
Somebody has to explain what the jellyfish is. I'm sure we know what the jellyfish is, but nobody who's
The
listening to
jellyfish
this knows.
was a giant server where we stored all of the footage, and we had to run physical Ethernet cables to all of our computers.
Right, yep.
And then when we moved 6 different times, we had to rerun them through the drop ceilings again.
I just remember that being our like number one reason for not wanting to move, because or like the reason we said we're like we can't move. We're connected to the jellyfish. We can't move.
And they're like, watch us. We will make you move, and we will make you move it.
Then after we moved, my computer never connected right to the jellyfish, and it would disconnect every single day. Every single day, I would have to restart in the middle of doing something.
Yeah.
Well, like the thing that was annoying is, do you remember, like, as soon as the pandemic started, Jellyfish had sent someone an email about how they enabled like cloud access so that you could virtually access the footage. And what people may not know is that a lot of people in the campaign were able to continue working from like 7 to 9 or 10 p.m. like at home, because it would be normal to work long hours, but you could do it from home. But we had to be physically in the office whenever anyone asked anything of us, because we had to be connected to the jellyfish. So crazy.
Yeah. We were just
many a night that we were there at like 2 a.m. or after debates and stuff. I can remember it would be like the wee hours of the night, and then we would be back there at like 7 or 8 a.m.
This episode is going to be called the unappreciated genius of the PFA video team.
Are you guys starting to have like stress dreams about the fact that like 2028 is coming up, and like if the field's going to look exactly like what it looked like in 2020 with 100 million people? Because I am.
I'm very stressed about it.
So like, it's early. What do you think you'll be doing in 2028?
Jesus Christ. No idea.
I feel like I had like such a positive experience watching the Texas primary happen online, and that I was like, I am not a part of this. I don't have to participate in this. I don't have to have any of the feelings that people are having about this, because it felt so reminiscent. And I'm like, this primary is going to get so gross coming up for the presidential, and I'm already anxious about it. So I'm trying to see if there's a way that I don't have to participate.
I think about like what you did, like what we did when we were like 24, 25. I think I had like turned maybe 25 or 26 times flat circle, like on that campaign. And I like am in the car for an hour these days, and I'm like, I can't do it. Like, it's crazy how you just push through when you're in that environment. I think especially because it was like definitely the first like it was the first big campaign that I did, but like I don't think Pablo ate a vegetable for a year. Like, I don't think I drank water. I didn't drink water the entire time. I think I walked like 40,000 steps a day or something like that. Like, it's just crazy, like, what you can do. And thinking about doing that, like, at my age right now, I'm like, God bless like the next generation that like hopefully is coming. And it's going to look so different. Like, that's the thing, is like video on campaigns, it feels like it changes every 2 seconds. What works, what doesn't work, what people think works, what people think doesn't work, like platforms, you can't, like, lightning doesn't strike twice and all of this. You have to tailor your content for the person. Video is such a unique part of campaigns because we've seen how it's evolved in the last like 10 years, and elements of it feel exactly the same and elements feel entirely different.
We're dinosaurs now. We join a campaign and there'd be a 19-year-old that'd be like, nah, you just go like this.
Well, the cap cut of it all.
I've done a lot less editing lately, so I feel like I don't remember how to do that. And times where I have done it, I'm like, oh yeah, I love the emotional stuff. I love making people cry. I mean, everything that we did on Pete, like then when I went and worked on Mark Kelly's campaign, and like Hussien said, like on a second campaign, like I was the one video person and I would just work with the digital team. You know,
that always surprised me.
Building kind of the video structure.
Yeah.
And I did I just took kind of what we did on Pete and was like, let's try it here in kind of a different way. But that was very helpful.
He was a big name, and it always surprised me that you went there and it was essentially just like you for the longest time.
Yeah, at some point we brought another editor on to help, and like Justin Jenkins was the digital director, and shout out Justin, I love him. He was definitely a digital person who saw what we did on Pete and wanted, you know, that kind of similar feel built out for Mark. So I got to do a lot of, you know, coming up with different ideas and different things with voters. And again, that was COVID. So I did move to Arizona, but I was sitting in a rental apartment by myself and then driving to Tucson once a week for video time with Mark and Gabby. But other than that, like sitting on my computer and talking to the digital team and just building up a whole video platform with Justin. So, but a lot, I mean, it was all based on what we did at Pete, 100%.
Yeah. But even for Ossoff, it was kind of small. Like I was like there to do like the senior video production stuff, and Jon has like a personal friend from like school who's like video director for him, who still does all of his stuff because he used to be in documentary work. So it was like the two of us, and then like we had a third person for a bit. The digital person had like a background in video but wasn't really like editing any of the material, and like we were operating at like a national scale because like everyone was focused on this race.
When you just said something that reminded me that we took pictures of the back of our heads and set that all as our desktop backgrounds.
I totally forgot about that.
We really did.
I remember I made me self-conscious that the back of my head was ugly. After I saw it. I was like, oh, I have really greasy hair.
It's hard that we did stuff like that, but then we just like really had to convince people we were busy, you know, we were like really busy.
We were.
We did so much shit that got us in trouble on that campaign.
I'm thinking of the chair video.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The chair.
Yeah, because we would do our work quick, and then
That's the thing.
We'd make stuff, and then people would see that we were just making stuff, and then the chair. But maybe I'll play the chair video.
About it. Yeah.
I would be remiss too if I didn't mention. So, you know, when you're on a campaign and when you're editing stuff super quick, you don't know people's names. You don't get to know people's names. So what you do as an editor is you make up names for people. So one of our mascots on the campaign was a kid named, was it Soil Boy or was it Soil Kid?
Soil Kid.
Who was a hero of the campaign, who asked Pete a question in Iowa. And we ended up using him in like every video. And so he just became known as Soil Kid.
And he wasn't a kid, we came to find out. He was like in his 20s and he like owned a farm and stuff. He came to a bunch of Pete events.
Iowa. Children.
Yeah, he had a whole ass life, and we were calling him Soil Kid
because he asked a question about soil, I believe.
Yes,
and he looks like a kid.
I think in that same video there was also Bald Millennial.
Yes,
that was one
from the same event.
Yeah, I remember that.
It wasn't very nice.
I mean, he was a bald millennial. So you're editing and you're like, let's cut to the bald millennial guy here.
Particularly when we were like looking for B-roll, it'd be like, Becca, could you give me B-roll of X?
Yeah. And I'd be like, I got it. Don't you worry.
But that stuff was hard. Also, that was the thing that we did that was not normal, I think, for campaigns, because people, like, it was normal to have like maybe like not just one shooter but two shooters, but we were doing so many things with three people shooting. And like that was like a campaign that was focused on talking to people who weren't the principal, which was led to a lot of different materials, which is why we had to focus on so many people.
I will say that, Carrie, that carried into the White House stuff too, where it's like, I think it was just like a campaign mentality at that point. It's like a head on camera is not going to be enough. You need a cut camera and you need somebody filming the crowd as well. It's like, we need B-roll and we need 2 options for cut cameras. And then it was like, that was just standard when we were at the White House too. It was like that. It was always 3 cameras at least. And then that's just like mega coverage. It was great. A lot of work though.
I will say, if Iowa is the first election again in 28, I will burn this country to the ground.
I don't think it's happening. I don't think you've paid attention to the Iowa Democratic Party, but they've had a lot of issues over the past few years. After the big issue, they had other issues.
When will that be, Seth? Was it Seth?
Should we talk about the slingshot, the catapult?
What was the catapult?
That was the theory about how Pete was going to win. That's how Pete was going to win the whole thing. Was the Iowa caucus was going to catapult us to winning all of the other primaries. But then there was no big media moment about Pete winning because it was contested. So it just didn't happen.
Yeah, so we didn't the Iowa caucus boost. I remember. Yeah,
I still tell people, if it would have been announced that night that he won, I think the sky's the limit. I mean,
it could have been very different.
It could have been very different.
But instead, we had to wait a month to figure out that he won by like 0.01%.
By then, it was all over anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that lady that snuck that wine bottle into her Iowa caucus and it shattered on the floor? I think about that tweet all the time where it's like, no one knows at the Iowa caucus except this woman snuck in a bottle of wine and it shattered everyone on the floor. I just thought it was the funniest thing.
My
I was
theory
like,
is that if the general populace knew what a caucus was, there would be riots in the street. Mm-hmm. It is the dumbest
They're
thing.
crazy.
And
getting
welcome.
Bodies in a room.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Caucus.
you witch.
I'm going to say one small, like, we had a very crazy swing once, and Karina will remember this one, where we went, I can't remember where, to Seattle, and then from Seattle back to Michigan, back to South Bend, and we didn't sleep. We didn't have a hotel. We had no RON on it, and it was a 48-hour period, I think. And I think Pablo literally flew to Michigan to be backstage and not record anything for a set of 3 hours and then move on to South Bend. And it was like one of those insane things where our schedules were so crazy that people were flying across the country for nothing. And I hated those trips so much.
Again, what I said, nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's flying by the seat of their pants. Becca, all right. So you went into the White House and you sent a video over where Pete, you had a video of Pete when he was the Secretary of Transportation. Talk about like kind of that transition, like when he came on, how did that feel, like seeing him in that role?
So for the first like year of being at the White House, it was still, like nobody else was there. Video team and like digital team was deemed like essential, but it was still like COVID era. Like people had not come back to work. So we were running around the White House like with cameras. Nobody was doing tours. We were just like, we had like free reign. And I remember like when the secretary started to roll in, like that was really fun because we got to have like very just like personal time with each of them. It was just like really a good time to get to know these people. And like, I could probably name all of them, you know, at a certain point, like right at the beginning. And it's like, how many cabinets can you say that about? But like, anyway, so when Pete showed up, like we had this little studio in the EEOB, which is right next to the White House. And like seeing him there, just like, I remember we were pitching stuff of like, okay, what do we want Pete to do? And I was like, you can throw anything at this guy. Like he will knock whatever out of the park. So we made him do this, like answer these questions in under like 60 seconds thing. And I was like, he's going to love this. He's going to be like game show. He's going to turn it on. And he was fantastic. And then we would always like find these like weird little pairings of other secretaries. So like, we would just like throw him like on a bus with like the energy like head and all this stuff. And it was just like magic because he can talk to anybody. But I think like he was exactly who he was in the Pete campaign. You know, it's like nothing really changed. He was just like in this elevated role that he took so seriously and very much loved, which was fun to watch. And then it was still like this element of like a playful video with like policy undertones, which is what we did on Pete. So,
will you talk about the like the monthly recap videos that you guys did in the White House? Because like just a quick overview is like they were like 30-minute long videos of everything that Biden and sometimes Harris did that month. Yeah. And I thought those were the greatest things ever, because somebody in my position who does a lot of work for like PACs and IEs and stuff, we were then able to take that footage and just essentially just use it as like amazing B-roll. So I can you talk about like how those kind of came about?
So that was
you said that they were very long approval process too. So I want to know about that too.
Yeah. So we had so the like tail end of Pete, we started to do those in case you missed it videos. Do you guys remember those? Mm-hmm. So it was like that on like steroids. Like it was much like you guys, the people I worked with at the White House too, were always capturing just like stunning footage that like would go nowhere. We didn't really have a reason to use it. So we were talking about, you know, how we get this stuff out to the public to show everything that he's been doing, where he's been going and all this stuff. So I built out a monthly recap that was like all of the events he went to, all of the trips he took, sound ups from each of those events, like writing out dates for everything. And it turned in this huge, like, sometimes I think the longest one was close to 30 minutes. So it ranged from like 11 minutes to like 30 minutes. And the level of approval to get anything out of the White House is like 50 people. It's so many people. So I was like, whenever I delivered it, I would just be like, please, somebody watch this. I worked on it so hard and I have watched it so many times. So it would first go to like whoever my video director was. At that time, Melanie Duran, shout out to her. She would watch it, and then it would have to go higher up and higher up. So many people had to watch this, and I always dreaded sending it because I was just like, I'm really sorry, guys. Here's a 20-minute video you have to watch for errors. And then when it got to the top, they would watch it, scrub through it, and make sure all of the stuff was good to go too. So huge project, but like a through line of my work, like Pete to Biden, was just like, I want to show the stuff that like we as creatives, you guys are out there filming, and like what can I build off of that to show off your guys' work as just like the person watching it all, because it was like really magic stuff. So that's what I wanted to do, but I did.
So was that like your brainchild?
Yeah, I worked with who was it? Our video director, or our digital director at the time. And then with the people on the team, like you have Jenna Sumar, who was the presidential videographer. Hussein knows her as well. Yeah, just being like, we should be getting this stuff out, and like, how do we package it? Like, where will it live? Because it certainly couldn't go on Twitter. It wasn't going to go on Instagram. So it was like, it's going to be YouTube. It's going to be a monthly thing, and you just have to commit to doing it.
Yeah.
And even after I left, they had to do it. So sorry about that, Hussein.
Again, those were awesome. And I've never seen anything like that before. And I think that they have they're multi-purposed in the way that people can use them and the way that, you know, people can digest them. And so, yeah, those were awesome.
Thank you. They were a huge team effort. Like I said, lots of people's artistic choices with filming, and then how to build it out was really something. I'm very proud of that. But yeah, thank you.
Maggie, I want to talk about you working for the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, during the Veep stakes, and how that, I mean, I think we all, you know, we're kind of pulling for Pete a little bit, his name in there. I think he was in the running for a little bit. So what was it like, you know, from a content perspective, as far as, you know, the stuff that you have to make during the time when his name was up in the running?
Yeah, so it was really crazy. I was in a role working for Gov, and also he just like has a really robust schedule. Not every governor does, most of them do, but he particularly does. He just really likes doing events and really likes traveling, and it's a huge state. So he does like 5 events a week, maybe more sometimes. And so in general, we were just kind of all over the state. And in the run up to the Veep stakes, once like his name started getting thrown out, obviously more and more national media starts coming to our events, these little tiny events that are like in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, in like barns, in these little towns where, you know, you have to drive like 2 hours to get to like the nearest city from it, kind of thing. We're having like big national media come and like descend onto Pennsylvania, descend onto the state capitol. There was a period of time where we went to the state capitol every day to work. It was like the most in-person job I've had post-COVID. And there was a day where a bunch of national media was just waiting outside the Capitol for us, like for when the day would end, and they were trying to stop people to like ask questions, which was crazy. It was just a lot. Like the circus was a lot. And it also happened at a time where we just happened to be also like growing a lot online. It sort of was like his political star was kind of rising. And so obviously that's why he was in contention for the Veep stakes. And so then obviously there was more attention then because of all of that sort of happening at the same time. We happened to be like having the Philadelphia Inquirer reached out and like wanted to do a story about like our digital team. And it just so happened to be as all of this was also going on. So we had one event where we had like a Philadelphia Inquirer reporter like tailing me and my like coworker while we were trying to like film Gov doing stuff for this event and like asking us questions about like what we do and stuff. So it was just a lot. It's like, you know, I mean, when you're behind the camera, you don't really necessarily want to have the camera pointed on you, especially when you're in politics where these things are so sensitive. And like, truthfully, I didn't have a lot of information about what was going on, what was going on with him, what was going to happen. My bosses didn't have a lot of information. He didn't have a lot of information. So it was just very stressful because we all sort of felt like no one knows what's coming next right now. So we don't know what that means for us. My boss did a very good job of being like, this is a great team. You all do great work. You know, I want to advocate for all of you as much as possible, that everybody lands where they're happy, you know, that kind of thing. But also she doesn't have a lot of power to really do much at the end of the day. Ultimately, if the man gets tapped to be the vice president, you know, so it was really chaotic and crazy. And then it was wild because as soon as it was like, okay, it's not him, just poof, it was done. Like everyone, all the national media was gone. Like it was just completely like, okay, that's it, on to the next thing. It was cool to be a part of. It was a cool experience. And it was wild how fast paced it was and stuff, and like how much attention all of our random videos were suddenly getting. Like I shot like a Pride Fest thing in Harrisburg with him that normally would have gotten like 5,000 views, that got like 100,000 views and got picked up by like libs of TikTok and like became a whole thing because there were drag queens in it. So it was just nutty to like have that extra weird layer of scrutiny, and then it was also wild how fast it went away. But it was cool. It was cool to be a part of. And I'm also just glad that I got to like be in person filming as much as I was.
Well, that's sweet, guys. You guys have any other things you want to talk about? Anything else that I missed? Oh, what's he grabbing?
I'm scared. What is it?
I still have mine, just to make it very clear that this sits like on my mantle, and like I just have it all the time. Just so you guys know.
That room was insane. The Rat King. Oh my god!
Should we talk about the rats and our menagerie and the little?
No, that's just for us.
That's just for us.
That's for us.
And the displays that we made, that I made.
We put it on the wall, like over the door.
Yeah. We tied them all together.
We sure did.
I mean,
and then we would play that game with them where we would go like this really fast.
Everybody loved the Rat King on the campaign. I don't know why.
Everybody was so happy when we did it. We were so popular for all the rat things.
Yeah.
All the rat things.
People really liked us and knew about that and loved that also.
And loved us anyway.
I also want to make it very clear, we did the rat things before people were saying rat things about the campaign.
It's true.
You guys are amazing. Thank you for coming on. You know, like I said, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And you guys, I'm honestly so friggin' proud of where all of you guys have gone and done amazing things. If you need, any type of freelance editing work, video work, hit up Hussien, hit up Gina. Becca's busy. Maggie's got a job, but Carina's got a job. But yeah, you guys are awesome, and thanks for hopping on and chatting with me as we kind of hopefully gave some people a chaotic look into what campaign life is like and kind of where those lessons took you guys.
Put your questions below.
Like it, everybody say like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
That's it for this episode of the Creative Caucus. Thank you so much for listening. Huge thanks to Gina, Hussien, Maggie, Becca, and Carina for joining me to relive the glory days for a bit. And thanks to Pete Buttigieg for running for president. If you enjoyed this conversation, like my friend said, make sure you subscribe to the Creative Caucus for more deep dives with the political creatives behind the work you see every day. And if you know someone in politics who should be on the show, or if you have a campaign or ad you want me to break down, send it my way or leave a comment. Until next time, keep the vibes up, because that's what people vote on.